It's AG Sports. I'm back. Thank you guys for the comments, the likes, subscribes, all that stuff. If I had more money, I wouldn't give it to you, but I would make the channel better and do good stuff for you. But I don't. So here we are. Anyways, I really wanted to talk about some stuff that is going to be more reflective today, and I think that's really important as a sports bettor. One thing that I've heard in a podcast, and I just heard it this week actually, was that head coaches in the NFL, they don't really get a chance to reflect and dissect and kind of self-evaluate themselves and the team and all that stuff until the bye week comes up. And that makes sense because throughout the week, yes, they have Tuesdays off, but I'm sure, most of these guys are married, they have kids, they have families, they have all sorts of other shit just like everybody else does. So for the most part, that Tuesday isn't hey, I'm going to go to the office and sit there and think about last week's game. It's hey, I got to do stuff around the house and family and do my regular person thing. That bye week is their opportunity to go back, see what they've been doing wrong, maybe where they can improve, how they can tweak the offense, and maybe get some better usage out of players, stuff like that. Stuff that we talk about, but that maybe they don't get a chance to do. And that's really cool. But as a sports gambler, you don't get a bye week. You don't get to do that. You do not get to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to totally take off week 12, and I'm just going to look back at my bets and really see where I'm at and kind of stop and look at stuff. And honestly, maybe some of you think that's a good idea, and don't get me wrong, I do too. I think, hey, that'd be cool. Let's just take a week off. But when you are gambling, especially when you're doing NFL, there's only 17 weeks of games, or 18 weeks, I'm sorry. 1 week out of that is going to kind of hurt, especially if you are a winning bettor. That 1 week, even if it's a unit or 2 units or whatever, you got to compound that and think, okay, well, either I would be increasing my unit size or I would maybe be using that money for another wager next week, whatever the case is. It's kind of hard to take that time off and take that money out. But secondly, just from a mental aspect of especially again, if you're winning, it's hard to say, you know what, I'm just going to totally stay away. I'm not going to look at it. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to open up my sports book. I'm just going to totally stay away. That's really hard. Most of us, if you're in this space, if you are into watching YouTube stuff on gambling or football or whatever, you are in it because you like it. You liked something either with football or with predictions prior to even getting into this space, and you're addicted to it. And I get it. It's not a problem. I am too. Everybody has their addictions. But if you're good at it and you like it and you're not wasting your mortgage on it, it's totally fine. But we still need to find time to go back and reflect on what you've been doing so far. So a few things I want to reflect on. One, this grading algorithm that I use. How accurate is it? How frequently are we finding ourselves, being able to really lean on this thing and say, okay, I know for a fact it's going to be at least so accurate, right? So I went back. We just kind of pulled up the schedule as far as the last 3 weeks at this point, because again, those first 4 weeks, there's not a lot of data to go on. So I don't expect this particular grading algorithm to be pinpoint accurate those first few weeks. That's why we lean on the Madden algorithm, and then we start slowly transitioning to this algorithm between weeks about 5 through 8, and then from here on out, we're going to really weigh on this more than the Madden algorithm. So, how accurate is it? Well, the expected points that's being formulated here, which is, again, conjunction is a direct tie to the grading algorithm, is 80 to 85% accurate in any given week. Meaning that 80% of the teams that play, which, if it's 16 teams, or 32 teams of 16 games, roughly about 25 of them, and I'm kind of rounding down, but 25 of them are going to be within standard deviation, one standard deviation of their expected points. And again, standard deviation is 7 points. So they're going to be within 7 points of this expected point range. And again, that's either up or down. And that's where it becomes hard, because just because we know this number, and just because we know, okay, this team should be within 7 points of X, well, is it going to be up or down this week? Okay, well, that's where your job comes in. That's where you need to not just look at the numbers and say, yes, this team is good or this team is bad, but you need to also predict, okay, I think that this team is going to be up in their deviation. I think this team is going to be down or neutral. And so that's where this comes into. That's what makes this gambling. That's what makes it betting. That's what makes it a lot harder than just saying, hey, look, the number, this says this, let's go bet it. So the important part of this is to say that, yes, this is accurate. And we're going to say it's 80% accurate at least, which is great. That's awesome. Secondly, though, what about our bets? How well have we been doing? I know you guys hear me come on here every week and give you picks and tell you what I think and all that kind of stuff. And some of you really like it. Some of you give me great feedback and say, give me your picks. And I appreciate your picks more than I appreciate my own, because a lot of times you guys are coming in with stuff and I haven't thought of or I haven't seen or I just kind of skimmed over. And it's just me here. If you are watching other stations, other channels, other podcasts, whatever, that's fine, guys. I love it too, and I listen to everything I can about football. But when you are comparing them and me, or I'm comparing myself to them, I'm literally just one guy. I'm doing all this by myself. I'm pulling all the data, scrubbing all the data, everything by myself, evaluating it, reading it, listening to it, all that other stuff. I don't have a team of people. I don't have somebody that I can kind of allocate this to and be like, hey, go look this up, go research this. You get these 3 games, I'll do these 3. I'm having to go each game by myself. So every little thing that you guys say, every comment that you make as far as like, hey, I like this team or I like this, or maybe, I'm a Steelers fan and statistically I know that they do really well in underdog spots and, and you know who you are if I'm talking about you. I appreciate that because that's stuff that I might just fly right over my head in the busy week. But when it comes down to the hard numbers, for the year, we are at a 59% winning rate, which is 36 wins, 23 losses, and 2 pushes. That puts the channel up 10.7 units, which is, if you're going off of my unit size, which is $200 a unit, that is a little over $2,100, like $2,150 or so for the season so far, which is pretty good. If you were betting more than that, if you were betting, I don't know, let's say like you're betting $1,000, and again, some of you might think, wow, that's nuts. Like, I'm never going to get to that point. You will, if you keep winning and you keep increasing your unit size and you're doing everything the right way, you will get there. I'll tell you from my own personal, experience, I started off betting like $5 to $10 a game, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And the first year, I lost my ass. I like $5 a game. I lost like $400. So it happens, but as long as you learn from it and you keep doing stuff the right way and you're listening to different channels and you're getting a little bit of input from everybody, not only will you become a winning bettor, but you also will start increasing your unit size. And when you increase your unit size, you don't have to win so much for it to maybe mean more to you. So if you're betting $1,000 a game here, you'd be up about $10,000 or almost $11,000 at this point. So that's good. But to break that down even further, when we bet sides, 19 and 13, that is a winning rate of 59%, and that's really the majority of the bets here, and that's kind of why the win rate is at 59%, because of the sides. When it comes to totals, we are 11 and 5. That's a 69% rate. So 69%. That's that honestly on totals, that's really, really good. The best handicappers, like the guys who do this for millions of dollars and they do it professionally, and like that's their only stream of income, they're winning like 70% of the time. If they're really good, if they're really, really good, it's like 70% of the time. So that's, I'm not saying that that's going to continue the whole year. I'm just saying it's been pretty good so far. The rest have been teasers. The teasers, for the most part, have been pretty good. It's 8-3-1, so it's 66%. And I guess let me break this down, because some of you I can already hear, like, hey, you got 59%, 69, and 66. How are you only averaging a 59% win rate? Well, the 59% win rate takes into account all of the preseason bets. The preseason bets, if you weren't with me back then, the first week was not good. The first week I think was like 2-3 or something like that. And then the second week was like 1-1. It wasn't good either. It was just kind of like okay. And then from the third week on is when we started getting really good. And so I'm not taking those out specifically to say, oh my god, like let's totally forget about that. I am including it in the overall stuff here. But as far as your regulation and the full season with my actual numbers and with the algorithm and all that kind of stuff, and having these numbers to go off of, I'm going to use that to break this down. So with those bets so far, we're at 66% for the teasers, which is 8-3-1. So that worked out pretty well. the teasers, again, that's a little bit more streaky. The teasers, sometimes you will have them like hit a really good rate, and then you'll have some really good teasers that you see on the board, and then other weeks there just won't be anything. Like last week, I didn't have a single teaser because there just really wasn't one out there that I liked enough to play with. So that's where we're at. That's the reflection, guys. Everything's going kind of in the right direction. It's where we want it to be, and I encourage all of you to do this yourself. If you do not already have some sort of spreadsheet, something where you are tracking your bets, I would ask you to do so. Only because, we're 8 weeks through the week now, or through the season now, and if you had a bad week 1 or week 2 or week 3 or whatever, I guarantee you probably don't remember what the hell you bet on. You might remember, like, damn, I had a bad week, I lost $300, but you don't remember what you bet on, who it was, why, what happened. As you need to keep those things, kind of keep a log of those things. That way, at the end of the year, you can come back and say, okay, hey, I made this much money. These are some mistakes I made. This is what I won't do next year. So, again, keep all that in mind. Next, I'm going to want to go over some games here that I'm personally not touching, but I know has come up in the comments, as well as I've had heard other podcasts with it, and I've talked to other people about them. And there are 2 games that I'm going to tell you right now I'm just staying away from. But if you are on them, I wish you good luck, and I kind of wish I had a dog in these fights, but I don't. So one of them is the Buccaneers-Saints game. The Buccaneers, on paper, and just from, I say that, Buccaneers versus Saints, your brain should say, the Buccaneers are going to kick their ass. And they probably will. But what I have right now is I have the Buccaneers at 34 points. We have the Saints at about 27 to 28 points. So roughly 6 or 7 points, depending on where you want to round these numbers. The reason I'm staying away from this, right now it's at 5.5. So you might take the Buccaneers 5.5. Some spots have 6. I'm not touching the 6 really. But also, again, keep in mind that these are deviations. So one or the other could be down or up. And that could really impact the way this game falls. But the reason I'm not touching it is that, one, it's a divisional game. And if you look back at the games that they played last year, the Saints beat them twice in the regular season. Does it matter? Not too much, because they beat them in, I think week 1, and then the next game was in week 9, and Tom Brady hadn't really gelled with everybody yet. They were still kind of forming. The Buccaneers had not had a bye week yet, so I think there was a lot of things still going on with that team just kind of gelling. But then come the playoffs, the Buccaneers win the game. But if you don't remember, in that game, the Saints were actually up 20-13 at one point. They're driving down the field, and then Jared Cook has a bad fumble. And the Buccaneers get the ball, they return it, and then from that point on, the Buccaneers take over. But if they don't fumble that ball, if Jared Cook holds onto the ball, who knows what's happening? Because the Saints looked like they were driving, and either they score a touchdown or a field goal on that one, and at that point it becomes a 2-possession game, and that's a totally different game from what happened. So I'm saying that not because last year is going to be a repeat, but it's more to prove that, hey, Sean Payton and that Saints organization knows how to play this Buccaneers team. They are one of the few teams that plays this team every single year, play them twice every year, and it's not just Tom Brady. That defensive front has been there for a while now. So that defensive front is one of the strengths of that Buccaneers team, and the Saints know how to play against it. And they have traditionally tried to pass the ball to their running back, in this case Alvin Kamara, a lot, to get around that defensive front and kind of tire those guys out, have them running left and right the full game. And those are some big men that do not want to be running 50 yards left and right every other play. So they know how to play this team. Now, obviously the Buccaneers are better on paper. The Buccaneers do not have a great secondary right now because of injuries, but Jameis Winston is also not the best quarterback, and there's not really a deep receiving threat on the Saints team. So I think that, yes, the Buccaneers will win, but I think the Saints, and specifically Sean Payton, is going to know what to do to make this game competitive. I think he knows how to play this team, and I do think he's going to utilize a lot of Alvin Kamara, just like he has pretty much every week this year. But I think he's going to put Kamara in a lot of one-on-one positions where he can maybe break a tackle and get open and stretch this game, and they're going to hope that they have one deep shot or one or two explosive plays that allow them to stay in this game. On the other side of the ball, I do think the Saints are going to give them a too high safety look, And they're going to tell the Buccaneers basically, like, hey, look, we're not letting Tom Brady beat us with this one. You know, he can take all the little underneath stuff. He can pass to Gronk if he wants to. He can do all the little underneath crap. But we're not going to give him big bombs to Antonio Brown or to Evans or Godwin. You're going to have to play short, and we're going to make you dink and dunk, and we're going to make you, be perfect on these 80 or 90-yard drives, or else we're going to basically, get the ball back, and we're going to stay in this game. And not to, obviously the Buccaneers can do that, but you're going to really try to put the weight on Leonard Fournette. And while he's been playing pretty decently this year, he's not somebody I trust to go out there and get me the win. And while I do believe at the end of the day, again, like I keep saying, the Buccaneers will probably win this game, it's probably going to be a little bit of a slower game than we're thinking. A lot more dink and dunks and runs and passes to Kamara and a lot of short underneath stuff, not a lot of big explosive plays. And if this game ends up going under, that's where you have kind of the scenario where the Saints can cover this game and it ends up being like a 24-20 kind of game. And so, like I said, I'm not touching it. I do believe the Buccaneers are going to win. If I had to put money on this, if you had a gun to my head and said, you need to pick a team, I'm picking the Buccaneers. But I'm not going to lay any money on this one. The next game is the Chargers and the Patriots. Now, the Chargers-Patriots, it's a 6-point spread. Do I like one or the other? As far as sides are concerned, not really. The Chargers got their ass handed to them last year by the Jets, and I think some of that is still kind of residing in people's heads. Like, man, like the Patriots ran them over last year, and I think people were like, hey, the Patriots can go back out there and do it again, and Bill's going to just wipe the floor with these guys. One, yes, you still have Bill Belichick, but two, you now have a rookie quarterback. Your defense looks a little bit different. You don't have Stephon Gilmore. On the other side of the ball, Justin Herbert is no longer a rookie. Mike Williams is actually playing like healthy, and you're coming off a bye week. And what really stands out to me is that Brandon Staley, so the last games that they played against the Ravens, and then even before that when they played the Browns, they were having a hard time because they could not stop the run, and because they were consistently putting themselves in these positions where they had to convert third downs. Now, they won against the Browns, but they lost against the Ravens, and it wasn't even close. What I heard Staley say after those games was that he wants to change the offense. He does not want to be in so many third down positions where he's worried he's going to lose a game or he's not going to convert or have to go for it on like 4th and 2. He wants to be more aggressive on 1st and 2nd down. That sounds really good. That's like music to my ears. Now, is he going to do it? Who knows? He did just have a bye week though, so like I was just saying, that is the coach's like opportunity. That's their chance to go in there and tweak that offense. And so if he was going to do it, that was the week to do it. And if he can come out here and show us those changes, I think they win this game, and they win it relatively easily. Now, as far as the Patriots are concerned, the Patriots, their defense is really good. And I think it gets kind of maybe swept under the rug because they've been doing it against a lot of bad teams. But they have a very high-ranking defense. Now, will they show that against the Chargers? That's a whole other question, because the only two things that we've really been able to test against the Patriots were the Buccaneers, who had Tom Brady obviously like super emotional, and he couldn't hit a damn pass to save his life in the first quarter. So that's kind of, let's almost throw that one out the window. And secondly, then they played the Cowboys, and the Cowboys game was really close. But remember, that Cowboys game, the Cowboys did everything they could to give that game to the Patriots. They were fumbling in the goal line. They were, throwing interceptions in the end zone, all that kind of shit. So was the defense good, or did the Cowboys just give it to them? Well, I'm going to say that the Cowboys kind of gave away the opportunity, at least, for the Patriots to win that game. And I think that the Chargers, if they come out aggressive, they can come out and easily beat the Patriots and walk away and have no issues. If the Patriots play their game, though, and they play their run game with guys like Damian Harris just coming out and smashing people and having another big game, that changes everything, because the Chargers cannot stop the run. And while I just said the offense is going to get tweaked and Staley's probably going to make some changes, I don't think he's going to do anything different to that defense. The defense, you can only do so much. You still have the same players. You drafted and you picked these players to play your particular scheme, and you've already kind of coached them all up the way you want them. There's not a whole lot else you can do. your style, you came into this season saying we're going to let people run, we're going to stop the big passing plays. The Patriots are laughing because they're like, hey, we don't even have a big passing threat. So, yeah, let us run. So they're going to try and run this game, and if they can run it and be consistent and be explosive the way that the Browns were when they played the Chargers, the Patriots do have a chance to hang around in this game. They have a chance to win this game and take some of that weight off of Mac Jones, let their defense and their running game just pound the Chargers and either be very, very competitive or just outright win the game. And the Patriots have a better special teams than the Chargers do, which could be an issue, especially if the Patriots are playing well and this is a one-possession game. Having bad special teams, a blocked field goal, bad miss, whatever, that can change the whole tide of this game. And so, like I said, this is like another one I'm not going to step on because I think either one of these teams can win. It's going to depend on how they play and kind of who gets the breaks. So I'm not touching it. If you like the Patriots or you like the Chargers, I can hear arguments for both sides. I'm just not going to touch it, and I'm really not even touching the over-under because depending on what team wins, it's going to totally change my perception of the over-under. If the Patriots win, it's probably an under. If the Chargers win, it's probably an over. So those are two games I am not touching. What about something I am looking at? So the Colts, first of all, they have changed the lines, or the lines moved. We took the Colts when they were plus 1.5, and we teased them up to plus 7.5. So we already have the Colts plus 7.5 in our pocket. If you wanted to, you could now tease the Titans the other way and get the Titans plus 7 with whatever other leg of your tease you wanted to, and you would have literally both teams at a plus 7 at a minus 120 rate if you're doing just a two-team leg teaser. So I love that possibility, first of all, but for the purposes of what I'm going to show you here, I really like the over, but I like the over 50. Now, am I going to necessarily lay money on that? I'm going to wait and see what happens here with this particular odd. The minus 134 is not terrible. Yes, the public usually does push it up some more, so I don't want to really wait too long. But there is still some sharp money out there that may come in either today or tomorrow morning, and I'm going to see if we can at least get it down to the 50.5. But secondly, and probably more importantly, the game that I actually did lay money on was the Steelers-Browns. The under was already one we had, but the Steelers plus 4. So the Steelers plus 4, the Steelers usually do show up in spots when they are dogs. The Browns, even if Baker Mayfield is playing back there with all of his injuries, I don't know how effective he's going to be. Yes, I know Nick Chubb is back. The Steelers have not only had the 9th-ranked defense, they have played an amazing schedule of offenses. If you look at my chart here, so they're the 9th-ranked defense by DVOA. And they have played the 7th-ranked offensive schedule, which means they've played some easier games that were towards the beginning of the season, and as they've continued to go on, they've had harder and harder competition. Again, keep in mind the Bills was their first game overall, so that's another little fly ointment. But they've had some really good offenses they've gone up against. They've had some really bad offenses they've gone up against, and they've come out 9th, which means that 9th-ranked defense is pretty solid. Whether they're playing a really good team or a really bad team, that defense is going to show up, and I think it's going to show up here against the Browns. If you're going to give me the plus 4 and I can tease that to the 10 so that I get the 6, the 7, and the 10, I'm doing it. So I'm taking the Steelers. I'm going to tease them up to the 10, especially in a game that I expect to be lower scoring. Something I'm thinking is going to be like a 24-20 or 17-20 kind of game. If you're going to give me 10 points, like half of one of the team's projected total, I'm going to take it. So the Steelers plus 10, and then we're going to join that with the Bengals down to minus 4.5. Now, we don't get the 3, so I kind of hate that. But we're getting the 7 and the 6 against the Jets, which obviously the Jets, yeah, I don't even know what to say to them that would be like accurate, but not, being an asshole to everybody that likes the Jets. So I'm just not going to say anything. But if we look at the score, the projected score, we have the Bengals 26, the Jets about 12. I'm rounding it up and kind of being generous with that. Let's say that the Jets hit the upper tier of their deviation, right? And so they get 19 points. 20, I guess, if you want to make it sound, like a more common football number. 20 points. The Bengals, even if they were to, because obviously they can't end on 20-20, even if they were to just stay neutral and just get their 26 points, you're still going to cover that spread at the -4.5. The Bengals, their defense is, what did we say last year? Like the 5th ranked defense, something like that. They're really good. Their defensive EDSR is 44%. That means that only 44% of the plays go for like 5 yards. If that, it's even less than that. And the Jets actually offensively only put up a 47% EDSR, which means that even if they weren't playing against a good defense, half the damn time they're still not going to get half the yards needed for a first down. The Bengals defense should really make the difference here. And so if you look at the under, I wouldn't blame you either. But I really think that this is going to be a lower scoring game for the Jets specifically, of course. I would be surprised if they even get to 12 or 10 or 13 or whatever. I'm going to be realistic and say the Jets score like 7 points in this game. I just don't see it, especially with Zach out this week, and they're going to put in, Mike White or whatever the hell his name is. There's another a rookie quarterback in his first start, and you're going to allow me to just tease it down to under 7. Now, the Bengals, their offense is good. Everybody knows that. But the Jets' rushing defense has been god-awful. I mean, even last week against the Patriots just ran the hell out of them, and it wasn't even like fun to watch towards the end of the game. Joe Mixon should have a great game. I don't even think Joe Burrow needs to carry this game. It doesn't need to be Jamar Chase this week. It doesn't need to be T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd. Joe Mixon could really he could say, you know what, you guys take another bye week. Just leave me the offensive line. We'll do Wildcat the whole damn game, and I'm going to win by 20 points. I really sincerely think he could do that. The Jets' rush defense is just not what we expected it to be. I really think they're probably just giving up at this point of the season already. Robert Saleh has not been able to get these guys to play the right way. Their offense is looking bad. I don't think they're going to put a lot of pressure on the Bengals to keep scoring in this game. And so, like I said, if you like the under, I get it because I could see how that under breaks. I'm not going to touch the total, because if the Bengals just say, you know what, screw it, we're going to light your ass up and we're going to put on 48 points, there's nothing the Jets can do about it. The Jets on the other side, if you take the over, you're saying that basically you think the Bengals are going to get over by themselves because the Jets are not going to help you out with that one. So to recap, we are going to tease that down to under a touchdown, so it'll be Bengals -4.5, and then we're going to put that in conjunction with the Steelers +10. So that's the last tease for the week, guys. It's up to you if you want to do a half unit, full unit, whatever. But like I said, if nothing else, I hope that you kind of go back, reflect on some of the picks you've had this year. Maybe find a team or two that you're really, really good at handicapping. For me, that happens to be the Broncos this year. The Broncos, when I bet a game that they are involved in, I am 7-1. This week we do have Washington teased against the Broncos, so Washington +9. So I feel really confident about that. But more importantly, I feel like I know how to handicap the Broncos moving forward. And until they prove me wrong, I'm going to keep at least trying to get them involved in my lineup. So, again, I would just encourage you to do the same thing. Hopefully, again, this was all helpful for you guys. I will have another video tomorrow. We'll go over some of the line moves and some of the expectations and all that kind of stuff. But thank you again for tuning in. I really appreciate your support and help. If you can, please like, comment, subscribe, everything below. If you could share it with some friends, if you could share it with some other degenerates that want to bet, I would really appreciate it. I do want to try and get this channel as big as we can, prior to the end of the year, and see what we can go from there. Thanks again. Have a great day.